What's up, everybody? This is the Bosque Mobile Bicycle Repair Podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 reasons why cyclists get flats. We're going to go down the list. Number one, the number one reason why cyclists get flats is incorrect tire pressure. The second reason is poor quality tires with no puncture resistance. The third reason is a poor rim strip quality, or it's installed incorrectly. The fourth reason is a defective rim or a rim defect. The fifth reason is a wrong valved inner tube inserted in the incorrect rim. So it's the wrong type of valve. Like if you have a rim that's drilled for a Schrader valve and you put in a tube that's a Presta valve on that in the tire, in the rim. The sixth reason is incorrectly pumping up your tire, which results in damaging the valve. The seventh reason is a leaky valve stem. The eighth reason is improper installation of the tire. So some people will pinch the tube when installing the tire. The ninth reason is tire maintenance neglect. So you're not doing your maintenance, regular maintenance on that tire. You're not keeping an eye on it like you should be. The 10th reason is your rim brakes are not adjusted properly, which will cause damage to your tires. So that's just the quick version of it. Now I'm going to dive into a little bit more depth of each of these reasons. I did write this in a PDF format, so you can read it as well. I've uploaded it to Odyssey, so check that out. Odyssey is a social media platform. It's kind of like YouTube. It's more focused on video content, but you can actually upload PDFs. That's why I like that platform. But anyways, and I have a lot of experience, of course, fixing flats. I'm a bicycle mechanic. I own my own business. I started my business during the pandemic, which was a bike boom. It boomed the industry, the cycling industry. It grew, some people say it grew by 300%, so 3 times. The industry grew by 3 times. I started my business parking my car on the side of the bike path, the most popular bike path in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a city here in the United States, southwest United States. And it was the most popular trail. I used to set up my table and my tools and my repair stand, and people, the number one repair that I did was fix flats. People are constantly getting flats on the trail. A lot of new cyclists, a lot of people just pumping up the tires and going out, and so they would get flats on that trail. And that trail is 16 miles, runs north and south. It's the most popular trail. It's the most popular trail in New Mexico because Albuquerque is the biggest city in New Mexico, and a lot of people go there to visit and buy, shop, or do what they do, outdoor recreation. And so a lot of people would that bicycle path, trail, whatever you want to call it, it was popular. It was like a highway. That's how many people were on it. So I was fixing so many flats, my hands were like this at the end of the day. Like, I go home and they're just, had to put lotion on them. It's just, they're all cramped up. I was fixing flats. And I wasn't even charging that much for flats. I should charge more. I was like, but Yeah, I was, there's days I was making over $100 just fixing flats. And but yeah, it was I'd seen everything. Seen everything. I was covered in slime. Everybody put slime in the tubes. Some of that slime was 10 years old, or these people were pulling these bikes from the garages. People were buying them used. They were coming from everywhere. So, and back in the day, I could tell when if it was an old if that slime has been there for a while, because when slime first came out with their sealant, it was not good at all. It was horrible. It was it wasn't like the viscosity it is now, where it's like, it was like liquid when it first came out. It was basically like water. And to me, it didn't really work that well unless the hole is super small. Now it works better. Um, but yeah, I was covered in slime and just like got sprayed in the face with it, just like. But yeah, so that's why I'm making this video, is so I don't want people to get less flats, which of course is probably gonna I'm gonna get less money less money if I go on the bike path again. um, but yeah, I'm gonna be talking about some products here. I'm not making any money off of it. I'm not sponsored by these companies. It's just they are quality products, and there's not that many quality products in the bicycle industry. There's a lot of overpriced items that are low quality, and there's some underpriced items that are pretty good quality. And there's some that are they're high priced and they're good quality. So it I've tested most of these products. I think, yeah, pretty much tested all of these products. Um, I'm gonna be putting some pictures up here, showing you, the products I recommend. Uh, but yeah, yeah, let's get into it. But yeah, I just see the same thing over and over again, and people are constantly asking me, "Well, why am I getting a flat? Why am I getting a flat?" Well, it's because you're not, it's because of these reasons, and they just spend the money, spend the time. That way you can enjoy yourself, you can enjoy your ride, and not be stuck out in the middle of wherever you're going. You're far away from home, and then you gotta, do what you gotta do to get back home, or where you're going to. So trust me, I know what I'm talking about here, folks. Okay, I commute by bicycle, to and from work. I commute. I go to the stores. I don't want to deal with a flat. That's the last thing I want. I don't got the time and I don't got the money to be dealing with that. It's gonna spend the money and deal with it. The tires on my car are worth almost $1,000, and it kind of shocks me that people don't even spend a lot of money on the tires. I don't get bubbles on my car tires. I'm talking about car tires now, but I don't get bubbles. That's how expensive my tires are. They're durable. They're ready for, but anyways, um save you some money. So yeah, incorrect tire pressure is the number one reason why people get flats. Uh, just check your tire pressure. Get yourself a little tire pressure gauge. I got two of them actually from Topeak. I got one that's a digital one. It's really nice, and I damaged it. I damaged the screen because it has a little LCD, I think, little screen. I'll show you it to you, and it does press the and Schrader valves. It's easy. You just switch it. And I think I have another one. I think the other one I have is, yeah, it's from Topeak. It's a manual one. It's more durable. It's a so it's like a um yeah, it's like a little gauge. They're pretty pricey. I think they're around $40. So I mean, and they're probably paying shipping is going to cost a little bit more. But I mean, it's a good tire gauge. I seen slime cells with another digital tire gauge, pressure gauge. That's at I seen it, at the retail stores like Walmart. It's pretty cheap, but the ones I got are expensive because I'm a professional. I'm gonna make sure that my tire pressure is good. Um, check your tire pressure before you go out for a ride. If you don't ride a lot, you definitely need to check your tire pressure before going out. That's a good habit to get into. Air is gonna leak. Little air will. It happens with all tires. It um air's gonna leak out of the valve. It's not gonna be if it's a normal. If a normal leak is gonna, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take time. Like your tire can go get low pressure, maybe drop 10 psi in a week or something. It's kind of normal. Maybe longer, maybe 2 weeks. It'll drop like 10 psi. But if you leave your bike in the garage for winter time or late fall through winter and then early spring, it's gonna go flat. Definitely gonna go flat. So a lot of times people will call me and they'll think that they have a flat tire when I'm doing their tune up for the season. And I'm like, when's the last time you pumped it up? And they go, last year. I pumped it up in early fall. So I'm like, yeah, that's normal. You just have to pump it up. There's no hole. It's just it's most likely. I'm not going to guarantee it. I tell them, I'm not going to guarantee it, but it's most likely you just because you just left it sitting in the garage through the season. But anyways, uh, yeah, get a pressure gauge. I recommend getting one that's specifically for bicycles and not car tires. Uh, because it's more accurate. Every little increment. It'll go down to like most of them will. You can effectively read it below 5 psi. They'll have a markers. It's gonna be every 5 psi. You're gonna have indication for the gauge because the car tire ones are more of a general psi. Like it's accurate to like maybe every 10 psi. And when with bicycle tires, you're gonna feel the pressure differences. You know, you're gonna feel it more, and it's more critical to have a more accurate pressure. Um, Also, your tire pressure is 90%, 95% of the time it's going to be on the sidewall of your tire. But there's some manufacturers that will not put them on there. You have to look it up. But contact your manufacturer. Your tire the amount of pressure you should put in your tire is labeled on the sidewall of your tire. And most of the time, it's very difficult to see. So if you have hard time seeing, go into a well-lit area, use a flashlight, go outside during, noon in a well-lit area and look on the sidewall of your tire. It's molded onto your tire. Most tires are black rubber and the lettering is molded in black. It's kind of, a raised type of lettering. And I don't know why manufacturers don't, try to make some colored print, more big colored print of the tire pressure on the tire because so many people can't see it and it's right there, but it's very small. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big. Sometimes manufacturers do print it in a colored print, um, but some don't. Um, you don't need a tire pressure gauge to check your tire pressure, but it's less time consuming than using a bicycle pump with a pressure gauge on it. Um, I, Me personally, it's mandatory to have a bike pump with a little pressure gauge on it. Um, that way, that way I know how much air is in my tire and my pressure. Um, so yeah, just check it out. I like the Surface pump. I have the Surface Tier 3 Air Force pump. I like it. The price is reasonable. It's not super expensive. It's not like what is it, Lenzine? Lenzine pumps. Those are really expensive. Um, but yeah, just I totally recommend getting a pump. I mean, I've gotten a cheap pump from Walmart. Like Blackburn's pretty good brand. Blackburn is sold at Walmart, but it's sold in others. Sorry, they also sell directly to consumer, so you can buy those pumps. They're pretty cheap. Um, and I had one for a long time, and it kind of did break a little bit, but it wasn't that critical. It was just on the Schrader valve. Um, I had a Planet Bike brand pump. That's a really good pump. That was I got rid of that one. I felt bad because I had it for so long. But that one had a pressure gauge on it. It's a really good pump. If you're riding road bicycles, you're gonna have to go to a high psi. And so, but yeah, get yourself a good gauge. Let me see. I got my notes here. Yeah, don't use those like vehicle pressure gauges, the ones with the little thing that slides out. It's like it kind of shoots out. I don't recommend those. I tried to use one of those one time just to test it out, and that wasn't good. Um, Attach the valve. Yeah, if you just want to do like a quick pressure check on your bike tires, like they're not that low. What I do is if I get my bicycle pump, connect it, engage it with the valve, and just you'll see the gauge go up. The pressure show up. But I would just give it a little pump. That way you get a more accurate reading on the gauge. Um, the pressure gauge on the bike pump. That's what I do most of the time. I don't even because sometimes my little pressure gauge is the little handheld ones is it's in my tool bag, so I got to dig it out. So sometimes I just grab my pump and just boom boom boom. Sometimes you can feel them, but you got to know what how to feel them. But I don't want to touch my tire because it's all dirty and stuff. So I'm like, if I'm about to go out, I don't want to be touching my tire, squeezing it, and then get that stuff on my hands and go wash my hands. So I just use the pump. Um, okay. Yeah, this will engage the pressure from the tire to the pump gauge. Yeah, if you just give it a little pump. But yeah, if you ride with low tire pressure, it's something called the pinch flat. So basically, your tube's going to be coming out of your side of your rim and your tire, and then your tire and rim's gonna pinch it. It's kind of hard to explain, but a lot of people get it. And also, if you ride with low tire pressure, your tire's gonna rotate on the rim, and then when you got a tube, it's gonna shift that valve. A lot of times that valve will shift, and if it shifts the valve in the hole, like it shifts it too much, it's gonna rip the base of the valve of the tube. So that is yeah, that's not good at all. And then you gotta deflate the tube, and then shift the tire back so the valve is straight. You want to make sure your valve is straight up and down. You know what I mean? It's not crooked. I'll put a picture up there, but you don't want a crooked valve. Um, for exposing the tube to the rim holes. Okay, what is this one? Incorrect tire pressure. Eventually tearing off the valve at the base. The rim strip. Also, the rim strip will shift too. Like if it's those cheap rubber ones, and it could shift and expose the spoke nipples and the the spoke nipples. If it's a single wall rim, if it's a double wall rim, it's gonna expose the holes, and the tube can go into the indentations and cut itself. If you pump it up. Yeah, if your tire goes flat within 24 to 48 hours, there's a slow leak in that too. So that's a way you can tell you got a little flat. If it's losing a significant amount of pressure, like 20 psi in 24 hours, you got a slow leak. So that's a way I know I have a leak in my tire. But yeah, you can buy a decent pump for like $30 at a retail store with a gauge. You know what I mean? Get a gauge. Um, I don't recommend using an air compressor. Don't use an air. I don't even like to use an air compressor unless it's well, I mean, I got those little tiny ones, those little battery power ones. The Ryobi one, the handheld one was good, but I got the other one. It's garbage. But I seen Walmart sells a handheld one just like the old Ryobi one. You'll see me use it in my social media videos. Damn, I missed that pump. I got rid of it. Um, but yeah, I would never use like a big air compressor like for cars. No, I man, I've seen a dude pop a tire twice. I worked with them, and he would. It's so easy to pop because it shoots out so fast, and it, the bicycle tire is gonna fill up super fast. I did it one time. I used an air compressor for a truck. They use that. That's how fast it shot out air. So I was at work, and and I had a flat, and I didn't live that far away. I lived like 2 miles away. It went completely flat, and I was like, I asked the maintenance guys. I was like, "Hey, have you got a pump?" And they go, "Yeah, but that's for trucks. Like if it'll fill up a car tire fast. So if it fills up a car tire fast, we think about a bicycle." And they were like, "Here, you do it because it's gonna pop." And if a bicycle tire pops, it sounds like a gunshot. That's how loud, literally how loud it sounds. And so I just went boom. I just did it for like maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds on that valve, engaged it, and it just went. Psh, and then I was like, all right, I'll see you. I gotta ride home before it goes flat. And I rode home. I made it home. I hauled it, and I rode fast, and that was funny. That was a good time. That was because I was like, they're like, I said, I gotta go. This thing's leaking. So, but yeah, it's gonna be two. No, your PSI it'll show two numbers. Like maybe 45 dash. Just an example, 45 dash, and it's gonna be a dash sign, 265 PS, and then the letters PSI, which is an acronym for is it pounds per square inch? Yeah, pounds per square inch. So then so basically that's just the pressure range. So 45 to 60. So anything from 45 to 65, even in between is the pressure range. I always recommend 5 psi below the max. That's me personally, because I know the customers. I'll pump it up 5 psi below the max because I know the customer is not gonna remember to pump up their tires, so it'll last longer in the tire, the air. If there's no punctures, no little holes. Uh, but yeah, I just do that. Okay, this is gonna be a big one. The second most common cause of flat tires is poor quality tires with no puncture resistance. Okay, you got to spend money on your tires. You got to spend money on your tires. No ifs, ands, or buts. You got to do it. Brand new bicycles do not have good quality tires. The only ones that I've seen with good quality puncture resistant tires are the ones that are sold for touring. That means riding your bicycle hundreds of miles, and packing, gear on it to go camping. Other ones are kind of commuter. There's very few commuter style bikes that will come with puncture resistant tires, but those are like, you know, those are not cheap bikes. They're above 500 well, or around 1,000. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now the tires that I recommend. Kenda Quick Drumlin tires. Kenda Quick Drumlin tires. I've been testing those ones. Those are really good. Um, Schwalbe Marathon Plus, notorious tire in the cycling amongst cyclists. It's very puncture resistant, and I have a YouTube video about the tires that I recommend, so check it out. The Kenda Quick Drumlin tire is not in there, um, but because I didn't test that tire out when making that video. Another one is anything the Survivor Series, which is a model from the brand Surface. So if you get that Survivor Series, that Surface makes tires and all kinds of other bicycle products. Um, but they make tires. If you get the Survivor, make sure it says Survivor Series. That's a good puncture resistant brand. What else is WTV makes like these fixie tires, thick slicks, but they have to make sure you get the little puncture, little pinhead. It shows a thumbtack label on it, but they're called something else. I forgot what it's called. Thinking about now, what's the other tires I recommend? Continental Tour Ride. That's a good tire. That wasn't in my video, but that tour ride one's good. Of course, it has the word tour in it, so it's meant to be ridden far distances, you know. So tour ride is a good one, and then Continental. What was the other one? Continental City something, but they're really good. Um, so yeah, check out those tires. They're really good. Spend the money. You know, if you have a fat bike tire or tires with the like 4-inch wide ones, the ones that are really big, I've not seen a tire that is made puncture resistant in that size. I've not yet. I don't. I doubt no manufacturer selling because think about it. It's a big tire, and you got to make it thicker material, and then you got to put that stuff in it. So it's going to be expensive. If they make a tire that's puncture resistant in that size, it's going to cost a lot of money. That's why they're not. That's why I'm pretty sure why they're not making puncture resistant tires in a 2 by 4 inch, 24 by 4 inch tire or a 26 by 4 inch tire. They're not going to make those puncture resistant because I don't think nobody's going to buy them. They probably think nobody's, which I know most people are not going to buy them because they're going to be expensive. The puncture resistant tires that I'm talking about, they cost around $50 or more each for each tire. So you're looking at spending over $100 uh, for puncture resistant tires in a regular bike. You know, two tires for a regular bike. And then if you don't know how to install them, you got to take them to the bike shop. But it's worth it. You know, the way I sell tires, I don't really sell tires no more. Every now and then, but I'll just show the tire to the customer. I'll take off their tire if it's flat. I'll take it off and I'll show the tire that I'm gonna sell them. I said, feel them. I just feel them, move them around, flex them with your hand, and they go, "That's a thick, heavy duty tire." And you know, it doesn't flex that easily, but it's good. You know, they're just like, "Yeah, I want those. Put them on," and then they don't call me back for flats again. They'll call me back up for a tune-up, but not for flats. You know, but if your tires are old and cracked, then it's time to replace your tires. If your tires have worn tread, then you need to replace them. If you can see the wire bead or Kevlar bead on the side of your tires, then you need to replace them ASAP because that's danger. That's a safety issue. You can see sometimes if the sidewall wears out, you can see like the little metal, little mesh, you know, the little mesh like that. If you see that, then yeah, you need to get rid of those tires. If they're cracking, that's why you gotta see if your tires are cracking. It's due to just normal wear, but if you leave it outside, it's gonna wear faster. That's why you need to keep your bike in a shed, indoors, in the garage. Don't leave your bike outside. If you leave your bike outside, it's gonna corrode. The metal's all gonna rust. It's gonna rust, and then your tires are just gonna degrade. They're gonna crack. UV light will break down stuff. So if you want to keep your bike save some money and keep your bike inside. Because, like I said, these tires are not cheap. Tires are not cheap at all. So keep them inside. And sometimes I have a problem with leaving my bike outside too, and I'm like, I gotta bring it inside. Um, but yeah, I've seen people put a new inner tube in a 15-year-old tire, and I'm just like, just get a new tire. Even if the tire, if it's like 15 years old or 10 years old and it's been inside the whole time, it dries up and it gets like hard. It's weird, but I would replace it definitely. Um, yeah, just spend the money. Spend the money. That way, it saves you money in the long run. And also, you're gonna spend less time fixing flats. You're not gonna get stranded out. You can enjoy your ride. You don't have to stress about getting a flat and walking home. And the Schwab Marathon Plus tires are very popular with the tricycle community, with the recumbent bikes, the ones you laid back on. Those are very popular with that scene because recumbent cyclists are pretty serious. It's a serious lifestyle. Like they spend because those bikes are really expensive and they got accessories and they got because if you get a flat on a recumbent bike, you're not going to be, it's not easy to walk a recumbent bike home or push it home. You know, it's easier to walk with a regular bike because you're just standing up walking. But a recumbent, it's a nightmare. So I've noticed that with recumbent cyclists is they got the Schwab Marathon Plus tires on their bike because they don't want to get stranded with that type of bike. It's already a pain, difficult to transport it. If you call for a pickup or a ride or something, it ain't gonna fit in a car easily. I've seen people put them in cars. Ones that the back seat folds down, but if you don't got that, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be all bad. But yeah, yeah, those are pretty good tires. They're difficult to put on. There's two different types of. If you got a recumbent, there's a special 20. I think it's a special 24-inch and a 20-inch. You got to be careful. If you they're slightly different from the normal 24 and 20-inch tires. It's called something. You got to look at something called bead seat diameter. But anyway, that's another topic. And I have a video about how to tell you the size of your bicycle tire. It gets pretty advanced, but for most people, you can use that simple measurement with the X in between. Um, but yeah, puncture resistant tires are I mandatorily ride with those because I've lived in the Southwest most of my life, United States, and we just got thorns. And then our roads here, and I've been all over America, and we got bad roads. There's trash, on the roads and stuff like that, So thorns and glass and all kinds of stuff, and it's just I don't even like riding a road bicycle with those skinny tires no more because the roads are so bad. Scared I'm gonna go in a pot if it's just I kind of ride like at least 2-inch wide tires. That's me personally. Um, let me see here. Puncture. Yeah, if you just search on my YouTube channel, puncture resistant tires, tubes, and tire liners for bicycle. It's pretty in depth. Um, Continental Contact Plus. That's the tire I was trying to say. The Continental Contact Plus is a really good tire. This oh yeah, WTB thick slick flat guard tires. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, Tannis. Sorry, I forgot to talk about Tannis. So the fat bike tires are not made puncture resistant. So I always sell Tannis to the fat bike tire people. You know what I mean? That own those bikes. Um, that's the only solution that I've seen. The only effective solution is Tannis armor for those size tires. And like say you want a lot of these puncture resistant tires, they have a multi tread. They have a multi tread, so it is. What was I gonna say? It's um, it's meant for light gravel, light dirt, off-roading, light off-roading, and city streets. The So if you have a knobby mountain, like if you want to ride in with a knobby mountain bike tire, that's when I really recommend getting Tannins because they're not gonna you shouldn't be riding off-roading like heavy duty off-roading with a multi-tread tire. You should do it with a knobby one. So I have a knobby tire with Tannis armor in it, and that's when I use Tannis armor. But Tannis armor is a real game changer. I don't know when I believe Tannis armor started with solid tires. They started selling solid tires, which I don't recommend unless it's for a kid's bike or you just really don't want nothing happening to you on the trail, which I don't. I mean, I've seen people ride those, but they develop a flat spot and they're not really good at rolling resistance. You're gonna pedal harder. They really have poor rolling resistance, especially over time when they wear out, and they're really difficult to install. I don't think I might have installed one before. The hardest tire that I've installed was a scooter tire. Those things are a pain. So if you're like one of those a scooter person, it's good luck trying to fix those. I'll do them, but I'm gonna charge a lot of money. what was I gonna say? But yeah, Tinus armor, that foam insert. It's a foam insert. I should have brought a piece of it here. It's a foam insert that goes in between your tube and your tire. So yeah, it's. I mean, I had people calling me up to install this, and I had a friend who owned a bike shop, and he was selling it. I'm like, what is this stuff? And I was like, nah, man, just buy puncture resistant tires. It works. I mean, especially with the e-bikes and the fat bike tires, they're like this really works. And I remember somebody got a flat tire with Tannis armor, but the it was a piece of metal. It was like a wire that was like pretty big. It was like 4 inches long, and that I mean that's gonna penetrate through Tannis armor because it's not that thick, but it's pretty thick. And but it I mean, it was just a freak accident, and I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, that he goes, it went through the tire and the Tannis, but Tannis is thick enough to where most glass, thorns, nails is not gonna go deep, penetrate deep enough through it to make contact with the inner tube. But Tannis armor is a big game changer in the cycling industry. I think it is. It is way way underrated. They were pushing their product when people were when tubeless tires was a thing, was popular, and bike shops were selling tubeless tires. But tubeless, of course, this is a. I'm not talking about tubeless here. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about tires with tubes. I do not recommend tubeless tires. It's a big time scam. A lot of bike shops were selling that garbage and telling customers who are just recreational cyclists, "I'll get tubeless tires, tubeless tires." It's extremely expensive and not that effective. Not effective at all against punctures. It's horrible, dude. It's I don't know. You know, there's mostly the only people who ride tubeless are hipsters and are people who do serious mountain biking. But I've done serious mountain biking, and I've not used tubeless. I was all right with. I believe I was riding with knobbies. I've done some. I mean, I don't recommend this, but I've done some pretty heavy duty mountain biking with a multi tread. Don't recommend doing that. Have a knobby, but I had knobby tires with Tannis, and I was, um, I have a video about Albuquerque bicycle trails, and you'll see the last one I think I go to is it's up in the Sandias. I was just, and I ate it too. I fell down pretty hard on that trail, but I was doing some stuff on there, and it was pretty extreme. But I would the biggest benefit of tubeless tires is riding with a low tire pressure, and I think I don't know, some mountain bicyclists they ride below the rated psi, or it's pretty low. It's like below 50, I think, psi with the mountain bike tires, which is pretty low. I think I'm talking about 35, maybe 40, which is extremely low. But if you ride too low, that tire's gonna pop off if you hit a jump or something and you land. But anyways, that's for performance. That's for like extreme performance. But and like I said, people that want to fit in with that mountain bike scene, and road cyclists also use those tubeless tires too. I haven't heard them use it a lot now, but people who want to fit in with that crowd, hipster crowd and maybe a high end bike crowd, that's what they were doing, was using tubeless. But if you use tubeless, guess what? You better like getting flats or walking your bike home, because you can't. Good luck fixing a tubeless tire out on the trails or in the field. If it's a tube, no problem. I can fix that flat in 5 minutes. You know, with a tube tire out on the trail, just with my little pump and everything. Also, if you're gonna carry a pump, I like those little tubular ones, but at least like I don't know, a foot long, something like that. Um, yeah, don't get those little tiny little hand. Just don't carry around CO2. Just get the pump. There's one by Topeak I really like. It's really cool. But yeah, like I said, tubeless tires is a big time scam. It's just not that. It's not effective at all. It's not effective against punctures, especially if you're in the Southwest. I've seen so many people walk their bikes home, and then the bike shops sucker them into getting tubeless tires. Because a lot of these bike shops, they're just like bike snobs, and they think their way is the right way, and they kind of like high end stuff. It's a lot of high end shops, so they're like, oh, get the tubeless tires, and they think you got money just to spend, every time you get a flat. So they're like, if he gets a flat, he'll come back and we'll fix it. And then you got to keep putting in sealant because it dries up. It's like this latex. Stan's nose tube is the worst. Oh my gosh, that stuff is such a joke. They're pushing that stuff. Oh man, yeah, it's a joke, man. It's a joke. The only benefit, like I said, is if you're doing extreme mountain biking, you need a low gripping. Um, but like I said, I haven't used it for that. You know, I haven't used it, but I just seen so many people get flats with it. I just seen the effects, and I'm like, I don't ride with low tire pressure like that. Below the rating, or I don't ride the minimum tire pressure rating because I know I'm gonna forget to pump up my bike, and it's gonna drop like 5 psi. I don't want it going below the minimum. Uh, but yeah, it's not effective at all. And you could feel those tubeless tires. You could feel them, and they're super thin, and they're super soft, and there's a reason why, so they can grip more, but it's less puncture resistant. So it doesn't make sense unless the only people who ride tubeless are people that can fix their flat. That's why they're constantly fixing their flats, so they don't care about, they like to fix their flats, or they got the money to keep going in the bike shop, and they keep going to the bike shop just because they want to hang out at the bike shop. They got, most of these bike shops are just, hangouts, little, mostly boys clubs. You know what I mean? So some people just want, and they don't like the people just want to get, hey man, fix people's bikes. You're a business. You know what I'm saying? People need to get back on the road. You know what I mean? That's why you walk in there and just chit chatting, doing nothing. They're just a lifestyle business. Anyways, me, I'm like, hey, I don't care what you ride. Let's get you back on the road. I'm about getting people back on their bikes, not chit chatting. Anyways, um, but yeah, if you can't afford new tires, there's other options like tire liners. Um, if you do use sealant, I recommend Slime. Slime. I'm not sponsored by them. I talk about Slime a lot just because they're the brand. They're the brand that has done a ton of marketing since back when I was in high school and I was a teenager. They man, I don't know where they got the money, but they marketed so much that it's just a household name. When people get flats that are not, expert cyclists, it goes back to Slime. Do you got Slime? And I carry it, I install it because that's what they want. And sometimes I tell them, no, buy new tires, and they don't want to listen to me. So that's, I pushed it, I sold it, I advertised it. I got the Slime. I even put it on my car, Slime logo, because people just, that's, I do what the customer wants. I do, if they're adamant about wanting it, I'm gonna give it to them. I'm not gonna be like, nah. Some bike shops are so close minded. They don't care about making money. So like, nah, we don't put Slime here. We're gonna put stands, or the customer's gonna walk away. So that's why I sell Slime, and Slime is readily available in here in the States, in America, especially at Walmart, Target, big box stores. It's available. So it's the go-to. But like I said, when it first came out, it was horrible. I was constantly getting, it wasn't good. My dad would buy the tubes with it, and with it already in there, give it to me. But now it's pretty good. I mean, it's for little holes, but like I said, it's a temporary fix. But some people ride their bikes only a couple times a year, so I just whatever, put the Slime in there, it in there. But it's the bad thing about sealant is it can clog up your valve. And a lot of people don't know how to unclog the valve. You got to take off, you got to take out the valve core, and sometimes it's going to spray everywhere, and I've gotten shot in the face with it. Taking off the valve core trying to unclog it, and then but put a rag over. You're supposed to put a rag, cover the rag over the valve, and if that doesn't unclog it, then you gotta put the pump on there, pump it, and then it'll kind of push out the clog into the tube, and then everything will come out. It's like I said, I've gotten to people's houses and they can't pump up their tire. It's not good. Orange seal is pretty good, decent tires. Tube sealant. It's mostly for tubeless tires, but some people put it in tubes. But it can clog the valve more easily because it has these little flakes in it. It's like glitter. Like I said, don't use stands, no tubes. That's not good. Tire liners like Rhino Dillos and Mr. Tuffy, those work. Those do work, but I mean they're not the great. They're not better than puncture resistant tires, but they're decent. They're pretty good. Um, uh, like the inner tubes with the extra thick ones. Like if you're gonna use a tire liner, uh, put in a super thick inner tube because that tire liner can cut into the tube over a while. That's the thing. That's the reason why I don't like tire liners, is because they'll indent into the tube and they can eventually wear through the tube. So if you put the super thick inner tubes in there, um, with the tire liners, it's better. They're also called thorn resistant tubes. They're like 2 to 3 millimeters thick inner tube. The material, the wall thickness of it is like really thick. Sunlight makes super thick inner tubes. Q tubes make super thick inner tubes. Specialized labeled their extra thick inner tube models as thorn resistant. Yep. Yeah, foam inserts. Yeah, there's a lot of different foam inserts out there. The most popular one is Tanis. That's the one I use. I'm a Tanis dealer. Full disclosure, I'm a Tanis dealer. I do sell Tanis. I don't really keep it in stock. The only ones I do keep in stock are the fat bike tires, because those guys, so many e-bikes are fat. People buy e-bikes, they're fat bike tires, and so that's why I keep them in stock. And then they know about Tanis. The guys who do a lot of research are the people who are really into fat electric e-bikes that are fat tires, know about Tanis. Tanis is well reputed within that space. Those niche right there is, and it works. It works. They're a good company. Um, the product is good quality. They got a lot of information. They got a lot of videos. My video is really good. I have a video. It got a lot of views. It's over 1,000 views. Me installing Tanis armor. I have a YouTube video. It's also on the other video platforms: Odyssey, MakerTube, and Rumble. I'm on Rumble. But yeah, check it out. Let me see here. Compared to Navi tires. Yeah, don't install a foam insert inside a tire that's really worn. Just buy a new tire and then put the foam insert in it. You can use a cheap tire, like I say, you bought a new bike and you got cheap tires and you don't want to buy new tires. You can put a foam insert in there. Because some of you are like, it's a new tire, it's a new tire. Well, it's a bad quality tire. It doesn't matter if it's new. Just because something's new doesn't mean it's good quality. And that's why some people think I'm ripping them off, is because they're like, well, these tires are new. Why do you want me to buy? And I have to explain to them, I don't sell bikes. So there's no conflict of interest. They all come with bad tires. It's just the way it is. Cushcore is another example of foam insert. I don't know nothing about that brand. No, somebody told me they had, a couple people told me they had it, and they said it was good. So, but I'm just used to Tanis. That's what I know. That's what's popular. But yeah, even expensive bikes have cheap tire. Even expensive bikes have cheap tires in them. I mean, I've seen some pretty, even a couple $1,000 bike cheap tires. Yeah, just if you want to test out your tire, just take it off. Get a goat head, which is here popular here in the Southwest. To get a thorn and just try to push it through the tire by your hand. You'll see how easy it is to push through that tire. So think about it. If you're putting your weight, the tire's inflated, and you're putting your weight on that tire. So I know a lot of you don't want to hear it, but it is what it is. And I'm speaking to a global audience, so I can't make money off I'm not selling tires to you. I can't go and fix your bike, so I don't got a reason to lie. um and I'm telling you different models from different brands. And I'm not, of course I'm not sponsored, because if I was sponsored, they wouldn't allow me to promote another brand's model or whatever competing competition. But I'm not. I'm recommending those specific models from that brand. I'm not recommending that brand as a whole. Like everything from that brand is good. I'm not saying that. Trust me, because they do sell bad tires. But they have a you get what you pay for. With those companies. You know. But yeah, that sealant is like, people think it's like magic. Um, yeah, the only big problem with puncture resistant tires is that they're more difficult to install. Not all of them, but some of the Schwalbe Marathon Plus is difficult to install. It used to be real bad. I think they changed something with it, because when when I was having people buy them, and they were I've had some hard time, but I think they put made them less thicker or less stiff, and it's easier now. But back, man, I have a video out. It's one of my top videos, how to install a bicycle tire tube and rim strip, and that was me showing. And I use a tire lever to put it on. Of course, everybody says you're not supposed to use it, but there's a rare exception. If it's that hard, and even a pro can't. I mean, I'm like, I'm not gonna, damage my hands putting that. I'm just gonna use a tire lever. But you got to be careful not to pinch the tube. I know how to do it. I'm slick. You know, I got skill. Put some baby powder in there, and just, boom. You know. Okay, the third most. We're gonna go to number three. Sorry, we spent a lot of time on that other one, but that's extremely important. And I'm going from the top to the least one, but it is what it is. Okay, so the third most common cause of flats is a poor quality rim strip, and or a rim strip that is not installed correctly. A rim strip protects the inner tube from the rim. If you have a single wall rim, the spoke nipples can puncture your tube if not covered by a rim strip. If you have a double wall rim, then it would be the spoke holes. The spoke holes will allow access to the spoke nipples recessed into the bottom of the wall of the rim. If the rim strip does not cover the valve hole flush, or the holes flush, then the inner tube can wear from, not the valve hole, but the holes for the spokes. If the rim strip does not cover it, then the inner tube can wear and tear from pushing against the valve hole. If there is a very small area where the rim strip does not cover the valve hole, that can lead to the inner tube puncturing by the inflating tube shifting the rim strip and going into the hole. If you ride your bicycle with low tire pressure, it will cause the rim strip to shift, causing it not to be installed or seated correctly, which will lead to a flat. The rim strip needs to be wide enough to cover the spoke holes and nipples, but not wide enough to cover the inner sidewalls of the rim. You can use a caliper to measure the max width of a rim strip that you need. Rim strips need to be centered on the rim between the side walls. The rim strip should not impede or be in between the tire bead and rim hook. This will impede or get in the way of the tire seating correctly on the rim. Rim strips can be made from rubber, nylon, plastic, or adhesive cotton. You can also use electrical tape for a rim strip. I highly recommend using a high quality cotton rim strip. It is more expensive, but will save you money and time by reducing the chance of getting flats. Rubber rim strips can deteriorate fast, get old fast, rip and shift easily, exposing the inner tube to the spoke nipples or spoke holes. Yeah, I don't like those ones, those cheap rubber rim strips. Unless they're very snug on the rim, but I I really don't like those at all. Those cheap ones. I'd rather use electrical tape than those rubber rim strips. And I've heard GCN say, "Don't use electrical tape. It's gonna heat up and expand." And I don't know, they're crazy. Um, I just use good quality electrical tape. I don't know, get some of the 3M stuff. It's meant to actually be uh, it's not meant to be heated up, but it's manufactured to withstand heat, because what you're doing is you're wrapping electrical wires with that stuff, and electricity, when conducted through a wire, gives off heat. That's why if you see a thermal camera, you can see live wires, because the electricity heats up the wires. So it's prolonged exposure. So electrical tape does get exposed to prolonged exposure from a live wire being having electricity conducted through it. So I don't know why GCN said that, but they're crazy. They probably just want you to spend money on their stuff. Um, I mean, I'd recommend you buy and spend the money on a cotton rim strip. I forget the name of that brand. It's a really good brand. There's two different brands, but they're pretty good. Surface makes a cotton rim strip. It's like this braided type of rim strip with adhesive on it. It's really good. It's worth the money. You know what I'm saying? It's worth the money to spend it on there. But one of my rims has electrical tape on it. I was just like, you know, I didn't want to go to the bike shop and I didn't want to buy it online and pay for shipping. So I just said I'm gonna use the electrical tape. So the bad thing is if you take it off, it'd probably be a sticky rim. But anyways, I gotta make a video. I haven't made a video about that. I haven't put it out yet. Um, but it works. But you gotta double it up. You gotta double it on the rim. I put two layers, at least two layers on it. Um, but yeah, uh, yeah. Okay, so nylon and plastic rim strips are durable and do not deteriorate fast, but can shift easily if they're not snug on that rim. If they're not snug on the rim, they can shift, and they can. A lot of times, I see them move side to side, so it could move to the side, and then the holes, spoke holes are going to be exposed. Especially if you're running on. It's mainly happens if you're riding with tire pressure below the rated, and it'll shift. But if it's snug on there, if it's real tight on that rim, it's not going to move around. But you just have to like I can tell if it's not going to move. If it's loose, I would get rid of it. Um, yeah, cotton rim strip is durable and will not shift, because if it is glued to the rim, because it's glued to the rim by the adhesive. When a cotton rim strip gets old, it can lose the stickiness of the adhesive and shift. That is true and not true. I think it depends on your environment, like how hot it is and cold. But I've actually seen some rim strips that have been on the rim, the cotton rim strips that have been on the rim for a very long time. Probably, I don't know, you're talking years. Because I was working on this vintage bike and it had very old cotton rim strip on it. And it just depends. I think if it's on a single wall rim, it'll stay on there. It won't longer because of it'll kind of indent over the spoke nipples. Um, yeah, electrical tape is durable and sticks to the rim, preventing shifting. The downside of electrical tape is that it leaves a sticky residue and can be an issue when replacing a broken spoke. You can use alcohol to kind of remove it. Acetone would be better, but be careful. That's a bad chemical. Wear some appropriate PPE for that. Rim strip or rim tape is essential for preventing flat tires. It is not noticed by inexperienced cyclists. Yeah, that's something experienced inexperienced cyclists don't see. I see it a lot. I've seen people install tubes without a rim strip at all. Um, a lot of times you got to check if there's a spoke protruding above the top of the spoke nipple because that can go through the rim strip. Sometimes spoke nipples are sharp, but that goes into the other one. Okay, man, I gotta take a break, dude. It's a lot of talking. Okay, the fourth, number four, cuatro, most common reason for flats is the wheel of the bicycle. When I say the wheel, I am referring to the rim, spokes, and spoke nipples. Some of the parts that are made to build a wheel. The rim valve hole and spoke nipples can be sharp from the manufacturing process. Run your finger slowly, I said slowly and softly, on the valve hole, spoke nipples, and rim. Do it slowly so you don't cut yourself if there is something sharp. There's something called burrs on metal. When you cut metal, when you drill holes in it, there's something called burrs. Machinists know it, metal fabricators know about this, welders know about this. Something called burrs. They're like splinters, metal splinters. And so you gotta sand it, or you gotta file. Well, you gotta use a file. File is best. So so yeah, you know, a rounded file can be used to file sharp valve holes and nipples with sharp pieces of metal, even if there are no pieces of metal on the valve hole. Sometimes that valve hole is, even if there's no burrs on it, it's like the edge of it is like a razor, and I've seen it wear through the valve stem over time. It doesn't happen immediately, but over time, and air will be seeping through it. Because a lot of times I used to see that with tubes with slime in it. Slime will be like bubbling out of it. You can spray soapy water in that area, and you'll see bubbles, and there's a leak. Um, yeah, the edges can be sharp like a knife. If you cut metal, you have to deburr it. Neaten and smooth the rough edges or the ridges of freshly cut metal. File the metal lightly because if you remove too much metal, you can weaken it. I found the tops of spoke nipples with sharp burrs or thorns. This is predominantly true with the cheaper bicycles. When a rim strip is placed over the spoke nipples, the burrs can penetrate the rim strip and puncture the inner tube. Some rims are made by bending a piece of metal round and welding it. Some rims will have excess weld metal where the rim is joined, called the rim seam. The excess metal on the rim seam can wear through the inner tube and rim strip. The excess metal can be rough and sharp. File the excess metal so that it is smooth and not rough. I only see this issue on really cheap bicycles. I saw multiple times weld defects on the rim seam from the bicycle brand Huffy, specifically with their model beach cruisers, which are very popular amongst recreational cyclists. Not all the rims are welded from a single piece of metal. Some are joined together with pins and adhesive. The rims that are joined together with pins and adhesive do not have seam defects from the welding. They don't really have defects that I've seen. The threads of the spoke should not extend past the top of the spoke nipples. I see this a lot. I've seen it on, even expensive bikes and cheap bikes. It just, sometimes there's a little mistake or defect. A poorly built wheel will have such defects. This is not an issue with double walled rims. The exposed spokes past the top of a spoke nipple are a major problem for tube punctures on single walled rims where the inner tube is close to the spoke nipples. There are two ways to solve that issue. If the spoke is not protruding far enough, then you can use a flat file and file the spoke flush with the top of the nipple. I'd say, to be on the safe side, if the spoke is protruding like a millimeter, you could easily file it. If it's more than a millimeter, then probably need a new spoke, correct size spoke, or maybe your wheel needs to be trued properly. There are two ways to, protruding far enough. I use a flat file and file the spoke flush with the top of the nipple. Do not file too much of the spoke nipple. If the spoke is protruding too far, that filing will take a lot of work because the metal is strong. Yeah, spoke nipples are stainless steel, so it's not weak steel. It's not like filing regular carbon steel. If the wheel is trued and dished, but the spoke is still protruding, if the wheel is trued and dished properly, but the spoke is still protruding, then replace the spoke with the correct size. That is the only option. Most spokes are made of high quality steel, so filing will take time. If your wheel has more than 3 spokes protruding on a single wall rim, then I recommend buying a new wheel. The wheel is not built correctly and will have issues staying true. Most of the time I see a spoke protruding, it is only one spoke out of the rest of the wheel. Sometimes I could tell when that spoke has broken or been repaired in the bike shop through just the spoke that they had in there, and they just, it's protruding. They knew it was protruding, and they just put it in there. I can cut, I have blanks, ones that are over 300 millimeters long, and I can cut them and thread them on. I got a Hozan spoke threader, so I can cut them precisely. So if I have a spoke that's too long, I can. But that's most shops, they carry like a bunch of different length spokes, which cost a lot of money. It's not smart, but I just got a spoke threader, and I have just single gauge spokes. If you got an arrow spoke, you're out of luck. Yeah, you should be because you're out of luck, because I wouldn't have it, and you got to go to most of the time you're gonna go to a bike shop and they're gonna have to order it. They have to special order that spoke, so it's gonna cost a lot of money. But if you have arrow spokes, arrow special wheel, then you're looking at spending money. Yeah, most of the time when I see spoke protruding is the only spoke out of the rest of the wheel. Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's only mostly just one big mistake. The fifth most common reason for flats is the wrong valve and tube installed. This is what I was talking about earlier. Okay, most cyclists with little to no experience will make this mistake. Always use the correct inner tube size and stock up on extra so you can have one readily available. Nobody does that. A lot of cyclists will buy the wrong tube because it is the only tube available at their local retail store or bike shop. Online shopping is good. That's why yeah, it is. I mean, you want to support your local, then have them repair your bike. But me, I'm not going to be selling tubes. It's hard to keep them in stock. So yeah, in a desperate attempt, they will use the wrong size. If the tube is too small, it will tear and rip when inflated in the bigger size tire. If the inner tube is too big, then it can be an issue when installing the tire. Pinch flats can happen when installing a tube that is too big, because you're trying to shove it in that tire when you're installing the tire. So it's not good. A very common mistake is when a cyclist will install a press valve tube in a rim that has a valve hole drilled for a Schrader valve. A rim with a Schrader valve hole is too big for a press valve inner tube. When you go to pump up the tire, the part of the inner tube surrounding the valve base will be pressed against the bigger hole and eventually cut itself on the rim valve hole. If you use an adapter, then you can install an inner tube with a Presta valve on a rim with a hole drilled for a Schrader valve. Only if you have an adapter. There's an adapter. They sell like plastic ones and stuff, but it's hard to get them. They're on. It's hard to get those ones, those adapters, those plastic adapters. But there's a metal one. There's an aluminum one, and it's very good quality. It's made by Wheels Manufacturing. They're a company here in America. They're expensive, and if you only want to buy one, it's going to cost money, of course, with the shipping. Uh, you know, who knows? You're going to buy it online for like the adapter's like $5, and you got to pay another $6 for shipping. But it's kind of good to keep those in your little tool bag, because let's say I don't know, you go to the store and you're like, hey, or somebody has a tube on them, but it's a Presta valve, and you got a Schrader valve hole, so you can use that. I always have one just in case I don't have the right size tube for if I only have a Presta valve tube in that size, and that person's maybe stranded, I'm on the bike path, and I'm just like, I can use that adapter. That's like my get out of jail free card. I can use that adapter. I'm like, yeah, I got the adapter. And I always tell them, I say, don't lose that adapter. I said, it's going to charge you more, but keep that adapter. It's a little piece of metal, but it's so effective. It works. Um, but yeah, I always have that in my little bag, and it's cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, sometimes that Presta valve tube won't cut, get a hole in it that fast. It'll take a while, because a lot of times the base around the valve is extra thick rubber. Certain tubes have it really thick, so it won't necessarily cut right away. It'll take time, but most tubes will. It's gonna rip right there. Um, because I mean, I've seen people ride on them, and I'm like, you need to switch it out. And they're like, no, I didn't get no flat, and I'm like, all right, well, do what you want to do. Eventually, it's gonna happen. So they didn't want to listen to me, but they thought I was just trying to rip them off. Um, but yeah, let me see. So yeah, you can, if you have that adapter, and I'll put a picture of it up here, or a link. I'm gonna put a link also as well in the description, because it's very good to have those adapters, especially like if you're somewhere, maybe you're traveling with your bike, and they only have a Presta valve, and you got that adapter, so you're like, yep. And the bike shops, if they're gonna sell you that adapter, it's gonna cost more than what they paid for it, and they don't. Wheels Manufacturing doesn't give you a bulk pricing on those. It's yeah, they're which I don't, because they're like the only ones that are making ones out of metal that I've found last time I checked. Aluminum, and that company is expensive. That's a high end company. They make bearings and stuff like that. They're machinists, like aerospace. They're getting down stuff to precision aerospace. 0.0001 millimeter. Yeah, stuff that's a little too much. But like I don't buy nothing from them but those adapters. I think I buy bearings. I got bearings from them, like 3/16 or something like that, for the rear hub. That's the only thing I'll buy from them. Everything else, I'm not buying it from them. No, that's way too high end for me. Yeah, there's the shops that have everything from them. Yeah, they're yeah, yeah, that's too high end. They got money coming from somewhere, and it ain't fixing bikes. Um, no way, Jose. Um, Yep. Okay, so we gotta rush through this because I don't got that much time. Okay, the sixth reason that cyclist gets flats is not using the pump correctly. I don't like letting people use my pump. I don't let people use my pumps no more, because they don't know how to pump up the tire. They're like, they're just, I'm like, they're damaging my pump. My pumps are expensive. That's why I'm on the path, and they're like, can I borrow your pump? I'm like, no, go buy a pump. You ain't touching my pump. I'll charge you. I'll pump up your tire. I'm gonna charge you. um, they should carry a pump. And I ain't doing nothing for free. Um, yeah, learn how to use the pump. Read the manufacturer's instructions. You know, a valve, the inner tube valve is delicate. Okay, so when you put it on there, don't be like shoving it on there. Don't be twisting side to side. The valve, this is the valve, and this is the valve. You're gonna put the pump head on there. Don't be doing it like that. Don't. People will rip the base of the valve. They're like, you know, there's a lever on most of those valves, and so when you engage the pump head, you lift the valve, and it'll squeeze onto that valve, making an airtight seal. And then when you want to take it off, you got to lift the valve down, and then so learn how to pump up your tire. Learn how to pump it up. If it's a Presta valve, you got to be extremely delicate. Be careful with it because you could damage those valves easily. That little stem, the little one that unscrews, you could twist it, bend it. I've seen it all. I've seen people. Yeah, no, you ain't touching my pump. Get away. No, you ain't messing with my pump. People break pumps all the time, even on those little free repair stands that are made out of steel and bolted in the ground. Those pumps are all damaged because people didn't know how to use the pumps, and so people don't know. I'm like, a lot of people drive cars. I'm like, I'm shocked. They probably damaged their car valves. So yeah, you got to be careful when installing the pump head or pump nozzle, and be careful when removing it. You go, this is the valve. This is the valve. When you put it on there, you go up and down, straight up and down. Don't be going twisting it side to side. Straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. Sometimes if the pump head is new, the seal is it's super tight. Like it'll get super snug, especially on the Presta valve. And so I've had them so tight that when I pulled it off, I damaged the valve, even going down. Like, so I don't. You got to be careful when doing this. I got a little file, and I'll file the material, the seal, just a little bit. I'm talking less than a millimeter, and just you know that way it's snug, but it's not gonna attach itself to it practically, and then yank. So that's the bad thing about it, especially if you have a new pump head. But it's kind of rare now. But I forgot what pump I had, and it was. I think it might have been that Planet Bike pump, but I don't know. I filed it carefully, little by little until it wasn't that, you know, snug. And that was without lifting the lever. That's how tight it was. But you should always test out your pumps, especially if it's the one you carry, before going out on the trail. You always test it out. Always test out pumping up your tire. Learn how to pump up a tire. I gotta make a video about that, but it's gonna take forever. These videos, oh yeah, they take the editing and stuff. Yeah, only move it up and down or basically vertically on the valve. Schrader valves are more durable than Presta valves. Presta valves are delicate, so be careful when pumping up the tire. I don't like Presta valves because most people don't know how to use them. I don't know why they just don't make all bikes with the Schrader. Pump heads will have one or two holes. Yeah, some bicycle pumps can only be used with the Schrader valve. Bicycle floor pumps with two holes will be able to be used with both Presta and Schrader valves. We live in America. I live in America, so I'm only going to talk about Presta and Schrader valves. I know there's another valve, I think, in India, but I've never seen it. The small hole will be for Presta, and the large hole will be for Schrader. Some pump heads with one hole will have adapter parts built into the pump head. They're like the portable ones, the portable pumps. You got to take them out and flip the seal around in the little plastic part. It gets complicated. That's why you should learn how to use it before you go out on the trail. But there are floor pumps like the one I have that has a single hole that can be used. You don't have to take it apart. It can be used with Presta and Schrader. You just have to, I think with the Presta, you have to engage it, push it in more further, and then it will engage. The Schrader is less because it's like I forget. I don't know how to say it. There's different widths in the hole. You know what I mean? So that's why I like that pump, because I could use it with Presta and Schrader, and I don't have to worry about two different holes. And it's pretty cool. You have to open the head to reconfigure. Yeah, the portable ones, you have to open the head and reconfigure or rearrange the seals inside. Check the manufacturer instructions for your specific model. Okay, specific model. Okay, if the inner tube is a Presta valve, installed on a rim drilled for a Schrader valve without an adapter, the engagement of the pump can tear the inner tube at the valve base. Yep. Your pump head will have a lever that allows the seal to tighten onto the valve, creating an airtight seal. Depending on the design of the pump, lifting or closing the lever will tighten the seal. Check manufacturer instructions. Most pumps will tighten the seal on the valve when the lever is lifted perpendicular to the pump head. Make sure to release the seal before you disengage or remove the pump head after inflation. If you pull the valve too hard, it will rip from the inner tube. Some new pumps will have a tight seal, even when the pump seal is not tightened. Yep, this is because the seal is not broken in or worn. If you are careful, you can file the seal to lessen the grasp. Do not remove too much material from the rubber seal. I do not recommend doing this unless you have a lot of mechanical experience. Like I said, you can do it, but that's your at your risk. But yeah, just lightly. I'm serious, lightly. I got a little. You can buy little tiny files and just from a hardware store. See, if you are struggling to remove the pump head or pump nozzle from the valve, get a pair of needle nose pliers and grab the valve carefully. Sometimes you can wrap it with a rag and then grab the valve. And with your other hand, you're going to rotate the valve head clockwise 100 degrees, then counterclockwise 100 degrees. Well, you just not 100 degrees, probably just back and forth and kind of with the needle nose pliers holding the valve. That's if it's too tight on there and you're like, even if the lever's depressed or it's not, the seal's disengaged, and you're just like, I've had to do that before. Keep repeating this slowly while pulling down on the valve head, basically walking it off. With the needle nose pliers, you're going to prevent the valve from twisting and being pulled down. So you're holding it in place, holding the valve in place with the needle nose pliers. Preventing the inner tube from ripping. Do not move the valve side to side. Do not jerk the valve. Presta valves have a nut on the tip of the valve that has to be unscrewed before engaging the pump head. The nut will not fall off because of a larger diameter at the end of the threads. Do not forget to tighten the nut after pumping up your tire. If you do not tighten the nut, air will leak out. Eventually, the tire will go flat. You do not need to tighten the nut hard. Be soft because you can damage the rubber seals inside. Schrader valves do not have a nut to tighten before or after pumping up. They just have a Schrader valve core, but if no air is leaking, you don't need to tighten that. It is good practice to put on the plastic valve cover caps on both Presta and Schrader valves. But if you do not, it will not cause significant air pressure loss. It's not going to cause air pressure loss. Like I said, unless that valve core is loosened, but it's to keep dirt and dust, debris off of it. It's more so for Schrader valves. It's good to have the cap on so no dirt gets in the hole. But if it's Presta, it's not going to really, nothing's really going to stick to it. But it's good measure to have the caps on. But some people are like, I don't have a cap on, it's going to go flat. I heard a story of a lady walked her bike home because there was no valve cap on there. And she's like, it's going to go flat. And I'm like, it's not that serious to have that valve cap on. It's not going to, the air's not coming out. Leaky. Okay. So what was this? I think this was the sixth reason. I think now the seventh reason. I got to hurry up. The seventh reason. Leaky or damaged valve stems are common. This can be caused by a valve core that is loose from normal use. It is easy and cheap to fix, but most cyclists do not know how to make this repair. I have 2 videos on my YouTube and also on all my other social platforms. There's short videos on how to remove and install a valve core for both Schrader and Presta. They're separate videos. They don't go in depth, but they are quick referrals. Quick general knowledge. Um, you can buy a valve stem tool to tighten the valve core. If you tighten the valve core and there is still air leaking, then the issue is not the tightness. Sometimes the rubber seal on the valve core can wear out or get deformed. You have to replace the valve core with a new one. You can buy valve cores, Schrader valve cores, and Schrader valve core removal tools at all, pretty much all automotive stores, retail stores. AutoZone, what's it called? O'Reilly's. The big brands. Even you can go to Walmart and get them. Target, big retail stores. Not all inner tubes have a replaceable valve core or removable valve core. This is more so with Presta inner tubes, Presta valve inner tubes. Most Schrader valves have a removable valve core. I remember I pulled out a valve core out of a Schrader valve tube, and it had like this spring on it. I think I've seen that only a couple of times. It's kind of weird. I don't think I should have removed it, but I ended up changing out the tube. If it does not have a removable valve core, then you have to replace the whole inner tube. Presta valves and Schrader valves use different types of valve cores. If you suspect a leak out of your valve, spray some soapy water on it, and if you see bubbles, there's a leak right there. A common cause of a leaky valve stem is the sealant in the tube. Sealant can be helpful, but can also cause issues such as air loss and air input. A lot of times that material in the sealant can get in between, like slime has that hairy stuff, fibers. It can get in between the seal and impede the seating of it. So that's why you gotta kind of clean out that valve hole before you put in the valve core, before installing the valve core. Tube sealant can clog and prevent the valve core from operating. If you have to replace the valve core if it is removable. Sometimes sealant can clog the valve, preventing air loss and input. When you go to pump up the tire, you will not be able to pump up the tire. In order to unclog the valve, remove the valve core and pump up the tire to break the clog. Position the valve at the 3 o'clock or 12 o'clock position. Be careful, sealant may squirt out. Then install a new valve core. Get a cotton rag, or some kind of rag, and wrap it around the valve hole, the valve, when you're unscrewing it, so that way if it sprays out, it sprays into the rag. Tip: some sealant manufacturers will provide a valve tool with their tube of sealant. For slime sealant, the cap on the container is also a Schrader valve tool. I don't recommend using that because it's plastic, and if it's that valve core is too tight or you're tightening it too much, it can snap off because it's plastic. It'll snap off in the valve hole. Get a metal one, but you don't need it. You shouldn't use. Most of them shouldn't be that tight. The valve cores. Neglect of regular. Okay, so we're gonna go to I think this was the 6th, 7th. I don't know. I lost count. Anyways, this is another reason why cyclists get flats. Neglect of regular tire maintenance is a cause of flats. You must check your tires regularly for debris and foreign objects stuck in your tire. If you have thorns or glass in your tire, remove them immediately. If you do not remove them, the objects will work their way further into the tire, causing a flat. They can also tear up your tire tread and wear the tire prematurely. To remove debris or sharp objects, wipe your tire with a damp, clean cloth, or better, wash your tires to improve the visibility so you can see those objects easier. Deflate the tire, wear some safety glasses, and use a pick to remove the debris. I rode my bicycle at least 5 days a week. I would wash my bicycle and check my tires at least once a week. That was when I was cycling a lot. Just get like the little hook picks. You can buy them at the hardware store, automotive store. pick them out. Be careful because I've had freaking little be careful because I've had shards of glass go in my a little shard of glass go in my eye. And I'm like, oh, it just bounced off my eyeball. But good thing it didn't get in the eyelid. Just be cautious, even though, yeah. Okay. The next reason why cyclists get flats: improper installation of tire and tube. Fixing a flat requires skill. There is a method to fix a flat. You have to learn from your mistakes. Learning to fix a flat does not happen overnight. Beginners usually will damage the tube while installing it. When I was a kid, I used to use a screwdriver. Always put a little air in the tube to give it some shape before installing. Make sure the tire is seated on the rim properly. Make sure the tube is not in between the tire and the rim sidewall to prevent pinch flats. Always try to install the tire with your hands. But you can use tire levers if the tire is hard to install, but it does not require, but it does, I'm sorry. You can use tire levers if the tire is hard to install, but it does require more skill and finesse. If you have skinny tires, there's something called the tire bead jack. Tire bead jack. And it's made by Cool Stop. I believe the brand Cool Stop. They make brake pads. That's a tool that's a lever you can use, and it doesn't cause pinch flats. But you still got to have some skill. You got to get the bead centered in the rim and then use that. But it's only for thin tires like road bicycle tires, like 700 by 25C, 700 by 28C. I think that's max you can go up to, maybe 700 by 30 with that tool. I have it, and I even forget I have that tool, and I don't even use it. I've used it a couple of times. It's really good. That's better than using a tire lever. But that's a really good tool. I should promote it more. But if you're a beginner, I have a video on how to install a difficult tire with tire levers. But if you're a beginner, you should have an extra tube around just in case you pinch the tube. Do not use a screwdriver to install a tire. I always recommend using a heavy-duty plastic tire lever with a rounded tip. Bontrager red tire levers are good. Even though I do not like the Bontrager brand, I do not like their tire. I do like their tire levers. I don't like the brand. I don't like their products, but I do like that tire lever specifically, that red one. That is really good. Okay, this is the last one. The last reason why cyclists get flat tires: rim brakes that are adjusted improperly can rub on the tire. Now, sometimes the rim brakes will not be adjusted properly, but they're not going to rub on the tire. That's if they're adjusted too low, but it just depends. So a lot of this happens when somebody reinstalls the front wheel and it's kind of low and the rim pads are sitting up high. The rim's not seated correctly. So if that brake pad, this is for rim brakes, not disc brakes. If that rim brake pad rubs on the tire, it can rub through it and puncture the tire, and it's gonna rub against the inner tube, or the inner tube's gonna come squeezing out of the tire, and it's gonna rip, pop, burst. So yeah, that brake pad is eventually gonna rub a hole in the tire, creating a flat. If your brake pads rub a hole in your tire, then you need to replace the whole tire. Unfortunately, if there's a gash in the sidewall of your tire, you're going to have to replace it. You're going to need a whole new tire. It's a safety issue. If a tire patch can be a temporary solution to get you home if you're on the trail. Getting your bicycle brakes adjusted, getting your bicycle rim brakes adjusted and tuned up will prevent costly damage. Getting your bicycle tuned up by a skilled and honest mechanic is always a good idea. Another good reason to call me up for a tune-up. So you can book an appointment on my website, www.bosquemobilebicyclerepair.com. If you watch this video, I hope it prevents you from getting flats wherever you are. So you can spend more time outside enjoying a healthy, bicycle ride, a little TLC, a little regular maintenance, and you will lessen your chances of a mechanical mistake out in the field or wherever you're riding. A little preventative maintenance goes a long way, okay? So yeah, check out me on social media. I'm on over 10 social media platforms. I'm on of course, YouTube. I'm on something called MakerTube. I just got on MakerTube. It's controlled by PeerTube. I'm on Odyssey. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Of course, those older platforms. On TikTok's might get shut down. I don't know. But I'm on a lot of social media platforms. Check out the links below. I'm on Spotify now. I'm on Pandora. I'm looking to get on more podcasting platforms. But yeah, check me out. I just want people to get out and ride. I'd like to see this. I see these things all the time. I'm like, I want to help out. I'm not making money off this. There's going to be links in the description below. If you think I'm going to make money off of it, then go open the browser and then type in or search and then go into those windows. You don't have to click the links below. They're like I said, I'm not getting paid for this. This is free information, so you're welcome. I've tested these tires out. But yeah, like I said, this information is free. You're welcome. Thank you for watching this video, and hit the like button, subscribe. Yeah, have a good day, everybody. Be safe. Wear your helmet. Watch out. Put your bike lights on at night. Be careful, okay? Have a great day, everybody. Have a great ride.